Happy, smiling photographs don't always tell the whole story. They often don't reflect the true feelings or struggles of the person in the picture. In this video, we will explore 5 photographs that seem normal enough, but are either hiding a grim secret or concealing an impending tragedy. The deadly soap maker of Correggio. Just a sweet old lady. Wrong. This is Leonarda Cianciulli. Cianciulli was an Italian mother of 10 children, of whom only 4 survived. She fiercely protected her remaining children, and her superstitions about keeping them safe would lead her to murder. In 1939, her eldest son, Giuseppe, was preparing to join the Royal Italian Army in anticipation of the Second World War. Determined to keep him safe at all costs, she concluded that his protection required human sacrifices. So she set her sights on killing her neighbours, all middle-aged women. The first was spinster Faustina Setti, who Cianciulli killed with an axe after inviting her round for tea. She then cut up her body into 9 pieces, saving the blood in a basin. She then threw the remains into a cooking pot and added 7 kilos of caustic soda, which she had bought to make soap. After dissolving the body into a mush, she poured the mixture into a septic tank. Cianciulli saved the blood and dried it out in the oven, then added it to her crunchy tea cakes mix that she later served to visitors. Her second victim, Francesca Soavi, was killed and disposed of in the same way. However, her third victim, Virginia Cacioppo, was melted in a pot for many hours, and cologne was added to make the mixture into a soap that she then gave to her neighbours as presents. From all her victims, Cianciulli stole money and jewellery. Cianciulli did not confess to the murders until suspicion fell on her beloved son, Giuseppe. To absolve him of any blame, she provided a detailed account of her crimes. In 1946, an unrepentant Cianciulli was tried for murder and found guilty. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a criminal asylum. She died of cerebral apoplexy in the Women's Criminal Asylum in Pozzuoli on October 15, 1970. Even a prison nun didn't trust her, saying, "Despite the limited means we had, she prepared very tasty sweets, which, however, no inmate ever dared to eat. They believed they contained some magical substance." Casey Rivara. This is a sweet act of kindness by Casey Rivara captured on camera as he escorts a duck and her ducklings across the road in a Californian suburb. However, as Casey ensured the ducks reached the safety of the curb, this sweet photo would be his last. As he made his way back to his car, Casey was struck by a car driven by a teenage motorist and killed. The accident was witnessed by shocked onlookers, including children, who had been watching Casey help the ducks, saying, "Oh, it's so cute. It's so nice of him." This simple act of kindness cost Casey his life, and this photograph captures his last moments alive. Floral tributes and rubber ducks were left at the site by well-wishers. People have left floral tributes and rubber ducks at the site of the collision, and an online fundraiser was set up to help his wife and children. The incident is still under investigation, although it is unlikely the young driver will face any criminal charges. Just a photo of a pair of stiletto shoes? Wrong. The person wearing those shoes is 18-year-old Oregon State University student Karen Sprinker, who is being forced to pose for this photograph by shoe fetish Jerry Brudos. On March the 27th, 1969, she was abducted at gunpoint from a parking lot outside a Mayer and Frank department store in Salem, Oregon, while on her way to meet her mother for lunch. Brudos was dressed as a woman when he spotted Karen wearing high heels and followed her. As he got out of her car and walked towards the store, he forced her at gunpoint to enter his vehicle and accompany him to his home, promising not to harm her. After he assaulted her, he forced her to pose in differing high-heeled shoes and underwear as he photographed her. Karen pleaded for her life, but Brudos wouldn't listen, and he tied a rope around her neck and hanged her. He later defiled her body and severed her breasts so he could form plastic molds with the organs. To dispose of the body, he tied her to a 6-cylinder engine component and threw her into the Willamette River. Poor Karen was just one of the 4 women Brudos murdered. He was finally arrested in May 1969 after investigators had amassed sufficient evidence relating to the attempted abduction of another girl, Gloria Smith. All the murders were committed inside either his car or the basement or garage workshop of the 2 homes in which he resided during the period he committed his murders. The victims were photographed before and after he killed them, and he retained some of their body parts. The murders were driven by Brudos' sexual fetish for women's feet, lingerie, and shoes. In court, Brudos pleaded guilty to the murders and was sentenced to 3 consecutive terms of life imprisonment to be served at the Oregon State Penitentiary. Brudos died of liver cancer while incarcerated at this facility in 2006. Turpin Family. From the outside and on social media, David and Louise Turpin, along with their 12 children, appeared to be the picture of happiness and togetherness. These are some of the happy family photos that David Turpin posted on his Facebook page. And in 2015, a picture of their 13th baby showing David and Louise Turpin beaming with happiness at becoming parents again. Family trips to Disneyland were also documented online. But these photos prove the disconnect between reality and social media. Because behind the smiles and matching outfits, the children, some that were now adults, were being systematically abused by their parents, who imprisoned them, beat and strangled them, and only let them eat once a day and bathe once a year. All the children were isolated and kept from school. By 2018, the Turpin children, some of whom were now in their 20s, planned to escape from their parents. On January 14, 2018, 2 of the girls managed to leave the house through a window. The younger girl, who was 13, became frightened and turned back. However, Jordan, who was 17 at the time, continued to run until she found a safe distance away and called 911 using a deactivated cell phone she had brought with her. She told the dispatcher that she and her siblings were being abused by their parents and that the smell in the house was so bad that sometimes she could barely breathe. She also stated that 2 of her sisters and 1 of her brothers were currently chained to their beds. When the first police officer arrived, Jordan showed him photos of the conditions inside the house. Deputies from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department raided the house, stating they were there for a welfare check. Louise and David answered the door. Inside was a house of horrors. There was the stench of human excrement, decaying garbage, dead pets, and mouldy food, with every surface covered with trash. Later, they found the other 12 children, one who had been shackled to a bed for weeks. The children were covered in bruises and appeared frail and dirty. They were so malnourished it was hard to determine their ages, and officers thought they were much younger than they were. The house contained hundreds of journals written by the children about their lives. The Turpins were arrested and charged with 12 counts of torture, 12 counts of false imprisonment, 7 counts of abuse of a dependent adult, and 6 counts of child abuse. David received an additional charge of a lewd act on a child under 14. On February the 22nd, 2019, David and Louise changed their non-guilty plea to guilty. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 25 years. However, experts believe they will never receive parole due to the severity of the crime, making it effectively a life sentence. After being rescued, all the children spent 2 months in hospital, where they were treated for various issues, including heart damage due to lack of nutrients, cognitive impairments, and neuropathy. When they were released, the 6 minors were placed in 2 foster homes, but 5 of them were sent to another abusive family who were later arrested and charged with abusing multiple children in their care. In 2020, it was reported that some of the Turpin children were living independently, working and attending school, with one having graduated from college. However, a 2021 investigation found that some of them were neglected by Riverside County Social Services, faced homelessness, and were unable to access the substantial donations made to them. This case illustrates significant failures in social programs within the human welfare system. A very sad story. Anne Faber's rainy day selfie. On Friday, September 29th, 2017, Anne Faber decided to go for a bicycle ride in Soest, a small town in the Netherlands known for its lush forests and meadows. The 25-year-old rode her bike toward Den Dolder, a quaint village that features several shops, restaurants, and schools. When she got caught in a downpour of rain, soaked to the skin, she snapped a quick selfie and sent it to her boyfriend. The text was sent at 6:50 p.m. When Anne failed to return home that evening, her family and boyfriend were concerned and launched a search party. They spent the next 10 days scouring the area to try and trace her steps. On 3rd October, the search party discovered Faber's coat. 2 days later, they found her bicycle, and the day after that, they found her backpack. Investigators sent Faber's coat to be tested for DNA and found a match for then 27-year-old Michael P., a formerly convicted sex offender. He was arrested 3 days later and confessed to murdering Anne. He claimed he only killed her after she called for help after he assaulted her and stabbed her to death to keep her quiet. At the time of Anne's death, Michael was in a nearby clinic undergoing treatment. After his arrest, Michael told police where to find Anne's body, and she was recovered on October 12th after being left in a wooded area in a nature reserve in Zeewolde. Michael P. was convicted of raping and murdering 25-year-old Anne Faber and was sentenced to 28 years in prison, with compulsory institutionalized psychiatric treatment. He also has to pay Anne's family €56,000 in compensation.